Good morning. This is the second day of European Economic Congress in Katowice, and today our special guests are Justin Gandy, Managing Director representing company MSD Polska, and also Gabriele Grom, a public lead, Mid Europe region, also MSD. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Again. And now, of course, I would like to ask you about Poland. Presently, my country, jointly with a range of other European countries, is facing the immediate challenge of demographic decline, perhaps like in other European countries. And cancer disease became an emerging serious issue linked to societal aging, given the fact that the age is high risk factor for such diseases. And my question is how to ensure efficient healthcare solution answering to the growing needs of the society.
Generally, we can have that discussion because Gabby is also here from the EU. But thank you for the question, and it's been a very interesting time now for Poland, and I think we cannot deny that the population is aging, and with that come certain risks.
But not only it's aging, but not only in Poland.
Not only in Poland, yes, it's general.
Sure.
Yeah,
It's a general global problem of Europe.
General across Europe, and what we also see now in Poland is that the birth cohort is slowing down, and then the population is aging. So what really becomes important, and we're discussing at the Economic Forum in terms of investments, but the biggest investment you can make is into people and their health, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to drive your population. And that's where we come in to really look at what does that look like. And where we're really focusing on is basically the site of screening, detection, and prevention. Because prevention is better than any cure, and like you mentioned, is that as the population is getting older, this also relates to increases in certain diseases, especially cancers. And we know that the earlier you can detect cancers, the better chance you have of actually curing these diseases. And that's where we see this really having an impact. So if you can detect it earlier, if you can then treat earlier, and now we're also moving into earlier stages of treatment, you have a higher chance of actually curing, which is...
So I understand that it's possible to prevent and to detect.
Yeah, it's first of all, the important part is to detect. And I think that's where Poland, where we need to work on, is make sure that you have detection, early detection across the whole country, because we see in the outlying areas, this could be a problem. But how do you then move these patients quickly from detection into treatment and then into early treatment, especially in the early stages, where we see a much better chance of the patient going back to society and having a bigger impact in the society again.
And what exactly do you mean early stages? It's counted in months or...?
So stages is more when you detect the cancer in terms of what stage that cancer is in its stage of its life cycle. So early on is when it hasn't proliferated that much or no metastases has set in, and therefore it's more localized and easier to treat versus if it's in a later stage. So if the patient's presented a much later stage, that's where the impact is really bad on the patient and also on the treatment regime.
Okay, thank you very much for the answer. And now, so what most urgent needs would you indicate to be addressed to ensure Polish patients get access to innovative treatments and new health technologies?
So we've witnessed a trend over the last few years, and especially in the last year that I've been in Poland, we've seen a significant investment here. And what we need is for that to continue. We need to make sure that the healthcare system is focused and prioritized, to make sure that the investment lies there too, and that there's a longitudinal investment happening here. Because only once you invest in early screening, early detection, and finding these patients, this is where you will really see the biggest impact. So we've seen this, but we really need more focus on that area.
Thanks a lot. So now questions for our second guest. What are key challenges for European Union health policy in oncology especially?
Yeah, so the challenges for the European Union is that cancer is really a devastating disease all across the European Union, of course, and it has some implications on the future. And what we see is that cancer rates are increasing. So it's really important that we start to address it early on. And the European Commission has kind of launched an Europe's Beating Cancer Plan, which includes many different recommendations on how to address and how to attack cancers in the member states, starting from preventative measures like vaccination, for example, for certain
Vaccination
types of
for-
cancer.
yeah. What
So
types exactly?
HPV, for example,
HPV, okay.
is a cancer or is a virus which creates cancers. Up to, of course, early detection, potentially through screening measures. Then, of course, access to best possible treatment, diagnosis and treatment. Up to kind of some topics which come when patients survive. So cancer survivorship, for example, is also a topic which is covered by the Europe Speeding Cancer Plan. Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Especially about vaccination. But
Yes.
I didn't realize it. That's
And-
Yeah.
and-
that connection. But
And especially, I mean, you say you don't realize it. I mean, we've now had the program in Poland for over
Yeah.
a year
Yes,
for
yeah.
HPV, and
Yeah.
that's why we really
I
need
think
to
it's
encourage.
free of charge.
Yeah.
Free of
yeah.
charge, and yes, and we really want to increase in order to have the major impact, you have to increase your vaccine rates. I mean,
Yeah,
beating Europe
vaccine
Cancer
rate,
Plan, you know, you need to get to 95 plus.
Yeah.
So Poland is in the early stages. We're seeing, 20%. The government wants to get to 40, 50%. But that's where we really need the awareness of the people to make sure that they get these vaccines, because this will have a huge impact on the healthcare system in times to come and on people's lives.
Yeah.
So my next question is also for
Yeah.
you. How will changes in the European Union health law affect the efficiency of innovations in healthcare? And what are the opportunities and risks in reform of EU pharmaceutical legislation and its impact on European Union competitiveness in research and investment?
Yeah, so the pharmaceutical legislation of the European Union is currently under review. And so there are elements which are currently in discussion, which are very important for research and keeping innovation within Europe. So it's the most important element is, of course, to ensure that we have incentives in place in Europe, which are kind of creating competitiveness of our kind of environment in Europe. To further attract innovations into the European Union and into Europe. So currently there are discussions around incentives and actually kind of changing them, decreasing the framework for incentives on intellectual property rights as well as potentially on data, regulatory data protection. And we need to ensure that we do not give the signal to the world that Europe is kind of decreasing the strong incentive framework which we have in place right now, and is kind of lowering it. Currently, unfortunately, it looks like, and the signal is not so positive, that we might kind of step backwards in terms of the protection. So this is it's kind of the reduction of the time when intellectual property or regulatory data protections are granted in Europe. So with this, we could potentially undermine the predictability and the attractiveness of the European Union for investment, for innovation and research and development. Yeah.
At the beginning, you mentioned that the law is under review.
Yes.
And who is responsible for
So-
this review? European Commission or?
Yes, so the European Commission proposed or made a proposal, which
Now it's consulted.
now there was a decision on the European Parliament made. They have voted on their amendments, so it means they took the proposal and they went through it and they came up with their own proposal. They have kind of voted on that, and now it's the Council, the European Council, which goes in a trilogue. So the three institutions go into a trilogue and then only it can be adopted. So the Polish EU presidency, which will be coming up very soon, will potentially pick up this package and then try to advance it. So it will be very important package for our industry to keep on competitiveness of Europe for research and development and bring out innovations.
Perhaps additional question, because what is the reception by the pharmaceutical industry of recent voting of the pharma law by European Parliament mentioned by your colleague?
No, exactly like Gabby said, initially from the outset, it's now moved into the right direction. However, we still have some concerns, especially on the basis of intellectual property. Like Gabby was saying, is that we as companies are trying to attract investment into the countries and attract investment into Europe, and these are elements that could really play a big part if the incentives were right. So this is where we see it, especially with like Gabby said, with the Polish presidency coming in to say, what is the right incentives to attract more investment, more innovation into Europe versus distracting from it? And elements like intellectual property are really big elements that will really attract or distract from what we need in Europe to make sure that we are sustainable and access innovation within the continent.
We see that worldwide, and sorry to chip in here, that the competition is increasing. So it's not that Europe has shown over the last year that we would fall back or kind of decrease our investment. No, but what we see is that other regions like the US, China, India, and more are coming up and are outperforming our investment big times. So there is a lot of growth on kind of trying to attract investments into these regions. And so we want to stay a player on the map on that, and that's why we need to guarantee that we have the best framework possible or can offer the best framework possible in terms of incentives and intellectual property rights.
You both mentioned that pharma law review will be on the agenda of the Polish presidency in the EU Council in the upcoming year. So what are the most important topics in healthcare for Poland to focus on during the period of Polish presidency?
Like you mentioned earlier, is that this is the first time a big change has happened to this type of law, and the initial thinking is to ensure that there is more equitable access across Europe, especially to innovation. And this is anything that is adopted that will increase that is fantastic, and especially for Poland where we've seen this uptake. But for us, the big focus is, like Gabby said, in terms of making the right incentives and making sure that the intellectual property is protected, because that is, at the end of the day, what attracts the investment, to make sure the investment is sound and equitable within the country. And if that relates to increased access to patients to our life-saving medicines and vaccines, then we're all for it. But we're also aware that these elements can be used to distract, which is what we're trying to avoid. And we want to make sure that the Polish presidency is aware of that and aware of what decisions they will make to make sure that this is actually enhanced. And especially with a positive trajectory that Poland is on, how can this really influence the rest of Europe to show what good looks like? And this is a clear case in point that Poland can stand out.
Next questions, quite a little bit long, but sorry for that. During the European Economic Forum, MSD was recognized with the Investor Without Barriers title. This award highlights MSD's significant investment in research and development in Poland and its commitment to driving innovation and growth in our country. I mean my country, not yours, sorry. Could you please provide some insights into MSD R&D activities in Poland, including the scope of investment, areas of focus, and any notable achievements that have been made by your company in my country?
So you say your country. I've been here for a year, and it actually feels like my country too, with the amount of investment myself and my family have made here. But from a company perspective, like you said, we received the award of Investor Without Borders, which we are incredibly honored by, because it really gives the recognition.
Well, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. Yes, and it really gives us that recognition in terms of the impact that we are having here, because it's really, we've built a multifaceted approach here in Poland, ranging from where we have a global clinical trials organization, where we have more than 500 sites, with more than 150 clinical trials, with more than 3,700 patients on trials. That's the 6th biggest for us in Europe. So
significant numbers.
Significant investment there. And if you look at, we have an animal health site too, where we manufacture ID tags, and we export more than 95% of those across the world. And that's based in Sarimawy, just outside of Poznan. We also have a data management center.
Where?
The data management center is based out of Warsaw.
Warsaw, okay.
And we have 3 of these globally, and this is the biggest one that we have for us as a company. So it's a significant investment. And on the other side, we also have human health, where we focus on our commercial developments. So all in all, we have about over 1,200 employees here that impact more than 11,000 families in terms of the way we work. And if you just look at numbers in terms of investment, it's over 190 million zloty in the last year, more than $1 billion in the last 10 years. And as old as this conference is now, 16 years, we've invested close to 4 billion zloty in terms of the revenue that we've both pushed into the country in taxes and in investment. So it's been a significant investment for us in Poland, which really creates an excitement for us in the future.
Thanks a lot. And my last question. And from the regional and European and also global perspective, how important is Poland as a market for MSD? I understand that it's very important, but
yeah, also,
let's hear again.
Yeah, also from the regional point of view, from the regional perspective, Poland is extremely important to the company. We would not invest so much if we would not see the importance of the country and of the market. And I think there is still a lot of opportunity in Poland, and it has high potential. And it's one of the big countries within Europe. I mean, the size of population alone really talks to that. And so we have a full commitment of our company to further kind of invest in Poland. And of course, for us, the most important piece is, of course, the investment, which Justin has just said, but it's really to ensure access for patients to innovative treatment and to actually secure outcomes for patients in Poland. But I think it all goes very well together with the investment we are doing, be it in clinical trials, be it in also our data management hub, which we have in Warsaw. I think that really talks to our commitment and also to the pride which we have to be so well established in Poland and look forward to the future. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the conversation. It was a pleasure to have a possibility to interview you. And let me remind for our audience that our special guests were Justin Gandy, Managing Director, MSD Polska, and also Gabriele Grom, a Public Policy Lead, Mid-Europe Region, also MSD, of course. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for your time.